Hello, my friends. This is Father Sean. Thanks for joining us again today as we dive into some virtues for the kingdom. Today's virtue is the virtue of temperance. Temperance for the kingdom, temperance in the service of love. I know a lot of times we think about temperance as just being moderation, but temperance is more. Temperance is like awesome. Temperance comes to a fruit of peace and serenity. Well, let me walk through that here. So, first off, when we're talking about temperance, it's going to be important that we recognize that there are disruptive passions within us. The impulse to be angry, the impulse to eat, or for sex, or for thinking certain thoughts, or for going shopping, whatever it is, we have these passions that want us to go out and do something immoderately. Have some immoderate act. So, there is that reality. But it begins with a passion, not the action that is immoderate. It begins with that urge from within. Secondly, temperance begins to train and temper those passions through actions of moderation. And as well as please God, the direct action of grace upon our hearts and souls. So that's a big step there, that we use our decision to act moderately. But then what I really want to highlight is that there's a fruit that comes from this. When all these things inside of us, when our mind is ordering our stronger impulses to order our more bodily impulses, that results in a harmony within. And the fruit of this harmony is a serenity. It's a peace. It's a tranquility when all things are ordered according to reason. This is serenity. It's kind of like what happens in a big city. If the government or the governor, the president, whoever it is ordering the city well, and the citizens allow themselves to be ordered well, and they are worthily engaging in a way that is befitting of them as citizens, that creates harmony. That creates a great community of people where everyone's doing their share, everyone's receiving what is due to them, and everything is in accordance with how it should be. That's what happens within a person when all these different passions are ordered correctly towards the good. There is a serenity. Serenity is the fruit of temperance. Talk about awesome. Talk about a great virtue to dive into. So it's kind of interesting to note that a lot of the things that we consider stereotypically, but accurate in many ways, but there's more to it, but still stereotypically regarding temperance are these different passions that spring from our need and experience of self-preservation. One thing, we got to eat. We must eat in order to preserve ourselves. Also, there's the impulse to preserve our species, if you know what I mean. But then also the urge to have dominance. I have to care for number one. I have to carve out my own place in the world. I have to make sure that I am able to conquer all those that are within my sphere of influence so that I may preserve my existence, preserve my being. So interesting enough, so the temperance regarding food is going to be the key for that first impulse. That chastity will be very important to moderate and use that sexual urge in accordance with virtue. But then also this desire to dominate comes from this urge to think of oneself in an excellence that might be in accordance with reason. It might be a little bit over the top, or it might recognize that the source of my excellence is from me and not from an outside source, which it always is from an outside source, principally God. But we're not who we make ourselves to be. We have to cooperate with all these exterior, interior influences, but we didn't create ourselves. It's not possible. So that is brought to fulfillment, that is adjusted in accordance with temperance in the virtue of humility. Humility is a sub-virtue of temperance, interestingly enough. Food, sex, and this urge to dominate are all ordered in accordance with temperance. Also the urge to get angry. We get angry, but we need that temperance to moderate that anger in accordance with being meek and humble. We can't give in to these bodily urges when they are against right reason. We can't give in to these mental urges when they are against right reason. But we need to give in to them and allow them to take root when they are in accordance with what is good, what is truly good. as well as long as it doesn't conflict with a higher good or with the law of the Lord. So how does one person grow in temperance? How does one person continue to advance in this way? Especially when we're talking about advancing in the kingdom of God, advancing in some of these deeper virtues. Well, first, we need to recognize that there are extremes here. And we need to move against these extremes and kind of try to err on the other side. It's going to be really hard to err on the other side, but we definitely need to be leaning towards that opposite side. So, for example, food. If you're eating too much, well, try to eat too little. Experience what that's like. It's going to be hard. You're probably not going to do it, but try to at least lean towards that direction. If you're eating too little, it does happen to some people. Absolutely. Well, really just sit down at that dinner table and don't leave until you have a happy plate. That's what you got to do. There's no way around it. Regarding that sexual urge, sometimes you got to control yourself and move away from all these other influences. But sometimes maybe there's not a sufficient amount of that sexual urge for marriage to find its serenity. And that person might have to just wake themselves up to the reality that they got to be a little bit more romantic. And that's just kind of how it goes in order to have a happy marriage. But it's always finding that golden mean, that golden median. When we have those thoughts that might break that golden mean from our self-understanding, well, if there are thoughts of an excellence that is not fitting to us, or if there are thoughts of ourselves being the cause and source of this excellence, we need to put those thoughts aside. We cannot entertain those. Maybe some people are on the other side where they're recognizing that, oh, I'm nobody. I can't do anything. No one wants to hang out with me. I am not lovable. Well, that person needs to begin to kind of lean towards the other side. They're going to pass each other in the middle there. But this is what we got to do. We got to be leaning towards the other in order to find that true good in the middle there. So move towards the opposite extreme in order to come to the virtue of temperance, because you're going to need that when you're going to try to do the good for the Lord, because all these things can get in the way. Secondly, pray about these things. Some of these emotions and passions that we have can be blinding, principally anger and that sexual urge. They can absolutely be blinding. We can be stumbling along, minding our own path, and all of a sudden someone cuts us off in traffic, and it turns out that I hate their guts. Like, I actually despise them, I curse them, and I've never met them, and all they did was cause me a little bit of inconvenience. It's like, whoa, that person just got blinded, whoever was that victim of their own anger, let alone the other driver in that car. They were the victim of their own. And it's just blinding. Or maybe something comes up, you're flipping through your phone, and all of a sudden there's that image there, and you have left chastity, and you're down this narrow, dark road in your own soul, and it gets ugly fast, and it gets blinding. And when someone lives with that on a regular basis, their whole life becomes absorbed by that, and it becomes very scary, very ugly, very dangerous. And the most dangerous part is they're blind to that. We must watch out for this blindness. And the best way to do that, I don't know if there's any other ways. The best way to do this is to beg for the God's grace to come down and wake us up to that moment. Take away our blindness. Bring us to a new experience of being alert and awake and attentive to what is actually happening in our soul. So that next time when someone cuts you off, and the next time you see that image when you're flipping through your phone, you'll be like, oh wait, time out. This is a temptation. I need to get outside of this temptation. I'm going to put my thoughts on something that is good, and I'm going to busy myself with something else. I'm going to read a book. I'm going to call a friend. I'm going to write a letter, whatever it is. It's pretty dang essential, but it begins with that prayer in the beginning of the morning and at the end of the evening, that we ask God, please, Lord, keep me aware of where I might fall. Keep me awake. Don't let me be blinded. Keep my eyes open. Thirdly, we need to eliminate the near occasion of sin. We just have to do it. There's no way around it. If we're trying to cut down on that cake and we buy this beautiful chocolate deluxe cake with little cherries and cute little frosting pieces and parts on it, we've all been there. We've all bought those things. and we try not to put them on the counter. We try not to bring home those leftovers from the work party or whatever. But like, we do it and then we eat it. For me, I live by myself. What I have chosen to do is really not buy sweets and bring them home. I'm very hesitant in bringing home leftover sweets. I really strive not to do that, because if I have a tub of ice cream in my freezer, every free night, I'm going to go to my freezer, I'm going to take out that tub, I'm going to scoop myself out a bowl, and I'm going to eat it. And I'll do that every single night until it's gone. Like, I just don't buy that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to live that kind of life. That's not what I've chosen for myself. I've chosen something greater for myself. With social media, that's also another urge that we need to bring towards temperance, because it's just a blind reaction to an urge. Oh, what's going on here? Ooh, look at all this. It's fascinating. I had no idea this person bought 2 pieces of cake. I have no idea this person went on vacation. Like, who cares? Okay, it's nice to check up on pictures and different things like that, but it just doesn't really do anything for us. The sin that is associated with mindlessly scrolling through this is the sin of curiosity. To be curious about unimportant things. If I'm a doctor, or better yet, if you're a doctor, and if you tell me that you're curious in the coronavirus, if you're curious in finding a cure for cancer rather, like, I'm glad you're curious for that. That's very helpful. Like, keep that up, doc. Please keep that up. That's a good thing. But if the doctor tells me, oh, I spent a lot of my time just flipping through my phone and just kind of seeing what's on there, I'm going to be like, you could spend your time doing better things, please. Please don't waste your life on that. That's a sin of curiosity, where we just waste our life in unimportant things and thinking that it's a helpful curiosity. It's an unhelpful curiosity. So we need to watch out for that. We need to discipline our eyes. Talk about custody of the eyes regarding chastity. It's also regarding social media. It's also regarding the food that we've talked about. The eyes of our mind. We need to watch what we focus our minds and hearts on, and because it can steer us in crazy directions. So these 3 ways of moving into temperance would be moving to the opposite extreme, leaning towards the opposite extreme, to pray beforehand, because these things can blind us, and then thirdly, eliminate the near occasion of sin. Watch our eyes. Don't let ourselves just to be fallen into whatever comes our way, but we need to have control of our bodies, our minds, our eyes, our senses, as well as the space around us, so that we don't create a space and environment that is conducive to sin. We should make it conducive to virtue. Makes sense, doesn't it? Another thing I did regarding that last one is I got rid of my TV. I don't own a TV. There is actually a TV in my house, but I put it in a closet. I cut the cable. I don't have internet access at my house because I just don't need it, don't want it. And it's a temptation I just prefer not to have. I think parents allow their kids to have a TV in the room, let alone all the cable in the world and a smartphone. Those parents are going to super regret it one day. I don't know if it's soon. I don't know if it's later. But they're going to really wake up to one day and like, what did we expose our children to? Parents need to be wise. That begins with temperance in the parents, enforcing and encouraging temperance in the children. Peace to y'all. Thanks for tuning in for another little round of virtues for the kingdom. Temperance in the service of charity. Adios, amigos. Bye.